Michele Mazelleغ. Welcome back to my channel. Before I start today's video, I want to bring awareness to what is happening in Ghana. It has been happening in Ghana for some time, but now it seems like it's been more and more on social media, and people are becoming more aware of the illegal gold mining that is happening in Ghana. The Ghanaians refer to it as galamsey, and the illegal gold mining is destroying the trees, it is destroying the water, it is contaminating the water, it is destroying the land, it is keeping people from being able to farm, and the Ghanaians are taking to the streets to protest against the government for this continuing to go on. It is affecting their way of life. So I wanted to make sure to bring awareness to it for those viewers who are not Ghanaians, who might not know what is going on. Please look at the news. Please see what's going on, especially for those who are desiring to travel there, wanting to travel there. Just to remember that there are issues going on in Ghana. There are always issues going on wherever you go, and you need to be mindful of what's going on and the people that it's affecting, because what is happening right now is a crazy situation, disheartening situation. My heart and thought goes out to the Ghanaians as they continue to fight against the illegal gold mining that is happening in their country. Alright, so I'm going to share with you all this video clip, and then I'm going to come back and talk about it. So let's get into it.
I was so proud to be a Black American, right? I didn't feel the need to say African American. I felt exactly how they did. I'd been to several countries in Africa and felt like, I was in, I went to Congo, I went to Djibouti, Rwanda, Nairobi, Kenya, South Africa. I was been in a lot of those places, and I'm going, hey, Black American, I'm proud. We've accomplished a great deal. Do they really feel like we're connected with? Until I went to Ghana. I want to hold on to no, I was cool being a Black American and very proud of it. But damn it, I realized that me telling myself that South Carolina was enough, that's some for me. I can only speak for me. But when I went back and the way I felt, man, I wish this for anybody Black living in this country.
This is Michael J. White. He is a famous African-American actor. He's played in quite a bit of movies and shows. Two of my favorites that he's ever played in is Why Did I Get Married and Family Business. He does those characters, Vegas and Marcus, does them very, very well. This is from an interview that he did about a month ago, and he was talking about his transformative journey to Ghana. Now, this journey happened in 2019, and he showed him going to Ghana. He was installed in Ghana, got installed in Ghana, and he also shared his experience in 2019. So let's take a look at that.
There was a chasm in my heart and in my spirit. That chasm just totally got filled being here, where I start to realize that, to say that, my people are from South Carolina and Louisiana just sounds ridiculous. It is ridiculous. My people are not from South Carolina. That's not the beginning of who we are.
If you are African American, and I'm speaking to the ones who claim the African lineage, that claim the connection to the continent of Africa. I'm talking to the ones who don't care to be called African Americans. That's the one I'm talking to. If you fall up underneath that category and you are African American, this part's for you. If this doesn't apply to you, you can fast forward it to the part where it applies to you. If you are an African American and you've ever been to Ghana, and you've gone to Ghana with an open mind, you've gone to Ghana ready to learn, you've gone to a Ghana ready to experience, then what Michael J. White said in his video ain't no lie. Because at the beginning he said he had went to a couple of different countries in Africa, and it was only when he went to Ghana that he felt at peace. And as someone who has traveled to Ghana, I can definitely agree with what he said. I did a video a couple of years ago that was talking about when I fell in love with Ghana. And it was definitely a journey for me too, to get to a place where you're like, yes, driving on the trough, riding on the trough, walking around the beach, walking around town, going to the marketplace. I mean, those are the things that started to be familiar to me, and they started to be a part of who I was, when I was there, and it continued even after leaving Ghana. And so if you've ever been to Ghana and you've actually gone there with an open mind, you will know that the people there, they are so welcoming, and they will make sure that you feel welcomed. Now, everywhere you go, you're always you might meet somebody who's contrary to that. But I can clearly say that in my time of going to Ghana, I can count on my fingers. I can count on one hand the many times that I have come across somebody in Ghana that was mean or disrespectful or whatever. It rarely ever happens in Ghana, because it's not in their DNA to be disrespectful, especially to people who are not Ghanaians, because they're very lenient, they're very accepting, they understand you don't know you don't know the culture, you don't know the ways. They are excited to share with you all what the ways are. They're going to correct you when you're wrong. So if you're using that left hand to eat your food or to do any type of transactions, they're definitely going to let you know absolutely not. So they are quick to correct you, but they do it in a very loving way, in a very like, okay, no. But at the same time, they still make you feel welcomed. It's not like, when it happens, you're just like, okay, that was just whatever. They literally are trying to teach you their ways and their culture, and they're just excited to be teaching you who they are and the country that they love. And so when you go with that type of mindset, and you go with the mindset that this is what this country is and this is the people there, you're also going to have peace. Because that's what Ghana brings to not just him, but to a lot of people that travel there. And people want to share that experience. All over social media, people are sharing their experience, their journeys, traveling to Ghana. And they will all, most of them would say the exact same thing when they got there: welcoming, peaceful, loving. They learned a lot, very cultural. I mean, a lot of positive things to say, not only about the country, but about the people there as well. And so they want to share that experience with people, because for so long, people have seen the continent of Africa as this dark continent, that nothing good happens there. All of it is negative. Nothing great. It's just dark. And so when people like Michael J. White go and they see that it's nothing like we was shown, nothing like we was taught, everything is totally different, you want to share that. And not only are you sharing it with the world, you're sharing it with particular people. You're sharing it with your people. You're sharing it with Black people in the Black community. You're sharing it with African Americans. And you would think, y'all, that there would be support to Michael J. White when he shared his journey. You would have thought that the Black people in the Black community would have been encouraging, that they would have given something positive to say. But Michael J. White said a word that triggers some Black people in the Black community to be very negative. He said the word Africa. That's what he said. He said the word Ghana. Ghana is connected to the continent of Africa. And the positive experience that he shared in 2019, and the same experience that he shared just a month ago, he was met with so much negativity from the Black community. It's crazy. It's crazy that the continent of Africa would trigger some black people in the black community to the point that they take a positive experience by another black person in the black community and they want to rain on his parade simply because they don't want a connection to the continent of Africa, simply because they don't want a lineage or don't accept that they have a lineage to the continent of Africa. So they don't want anybody else saying it at all. They don't want anybody saying, giving no positive experience. They don't want nobody saying nothing positive about the continent. They don't want people saying nothing positive about any countries there. They don't want that, because as soon as they hear it, as soon as he posted it, as soon as he said something positive about it, all there was, most of it was negative comments. If he would have said he went to France and had a positive experience in France or Italy, Russia, they wouldn't have nothing to say. They would have been silent. But he dared say the continent of Africa. He dared say Ghana. And then people want to come out talking about they don't have any, we ain't from Africa. We don't have any roots in Africa. We from the United States. We built the America. Where in the video did Michael J. White say anything about any of that? He's speaking on his experience and was met with backlash from the black community. Tell me how that makes sense. Some black Americans, because they don't want to be called African Americans, and since they don't want to have any connection to the continent of Africa, and since they don't have anything good to say about the continent of Africa, then I'm not going to give them the luxury of having African in front of their names. So the black Americans, there are some black Americans who can't fathom that somebody like Michael J. White, that somebody like me, that somebody, I guess, like Maya Angelou and W.E.B. Du Bois, Dr. Martin Luther King, who went to Ghana and had a positive experience. How can they have a positive experience? This is how some black Americans are thinking, the ones that don't want any connection to the continent. How in the world can y'all think that Ghana, a small country in the continent of Africa, a continent that the world has already pretty much done washed their hands of. They washed their hands of them. Don't want to have nothing to do with them. So how can the continent of Africa, little Ghana, y'all think that little Ghana in the continent of Africa, y'all gonna have peace in little Ghana and more peace than you got in the United States of America? Y'all actually gonna have something positive to say about a country and that in their mind is third world, underdeveloped, don't have no infrastructure. They think the people there are uncivilized, heathenistic, barbarians. That's what some black Americans still think of the continent of Africa and the country of Ghana. Y'all gonna think that country is better than the United States of America? Where they have all this amenities? Like what? How dare you think that anything on the continent of Africa can even be close to the United States of America? That's how some of them are thinking. That's how some of them really think. Because some of them have never even stepped foot on the continent of Africa to know for certain what it looks like. They haven't had any close relationships with the people. They haven't had any close relationships with the culture. But they got a problem with Michael J. White, who's clearly gone over there, been installed, done been around the people. He had a positive experience. And instead of them saying, well, you know what, that's good for him to have a positive experience. Way to go. I'm not ever going to go to the continent of Africa, but way to go for him for having that positive experience. That was just too much for him. Because how dare he say anything positive about the continent of Africa? How dare he? I don't have a problem with black people saying they want to be called black Americans. I don't have a problem with that. You can identify however you want to identify. That's your life, your mindset, whatever. If you want to say that you don't have any connection to the continent of Africa, fine. That's on you. But there are some Black Americans who have a very big problem with people like myself, people like Michael J. White, who share positive experiences and share positive things on the continent of Africa and want to share it with other African Americans who think like we do. They got a problem with that. They can't just let us have our positive little pool and just go to another channel. No, they have to bombard the videos with all this negative comment of what they not to convince themselves. Because they're not convincing Michael J. White. They ain't convincing me. They ain't convincing anybody else who has a positive experience about the continent of Africa. They're not trying to convince us. They're trying to convince themselves. They're trying to convince themselves how American they want to be. They're trying to convince themselves that they have no connection to the continent of Africa. They ain't convincing me. I don't need convincing. I know who I am. I don't need any convincing. If you got to go into somebody's channel to talk about how American you are and that you're not from the continent of Africa, that's you trying to explain it and trying to make sure you understand it. It's not for the person that made the video. I was having a conversation with a young gentleman last week, a couple weeks ago, on the video that I did, and I can't remember the name of it, but I'll put it up there. And the conversation that we had was that it's the older Black people. First he called us old, okay? He didn't even try to be respectful about it. And I already told him. So if he's watching, he already know. It's the old people, like Michael J. White and me and, the old Black folks who want to have a connection to the continent of Africa. We're the ones that's trying to continue on the lineage. We're the ones that's trying to have the same mentality as Michael J. White, to say that you should go to the continent of Africa. You should go to a country in Africa at least one time in your lifetime. And his response to it is the reason why there are so many people that have negative comments to say about Michael J. White's video. The Black Americans who do, most of them are young Black Americans who have decided they don't want to have any connection to the continent of Africa. They want to delineate themselves, delineate the Black community, and basically do things on their own. If you can't have any encouragement and any support for another Black person from the United States for whatever experience that they decide to share, whether or not you agree with them or not, but that they shared a positive experience that made an impact on their life. If you cannot say something positive about that person, how in the world is the Black community ever going to move forward if you can't even support your own brother and sister, even if you don't agree with what they have to say? How is that possible? The civil rights movement, for the young people out there who might not know or willfully ignoring the fact that there was a strong relationship between these two groups of people. There's never been a time really up until recently. And even now, contrary to what social media will have you believe, there is still a strong connection between these two groups of people. The civil rights movement, I believe, and I wasn't even born during the civil rights movement, I believe was when the Black community was at its strongest. It was its strongest during the civil rights movement because Black people actually looked out for each other. They supported each other. And not only did the Black people in the Black community in the United States support each other, they also supported the people on the continent of Africa. Dr. Martin Luther King did a whole speech about Ghana, about them doing all that was necessary to become the first country in Africa to gain its independence. Half of his speech was on Ghana. And the people out there in the crowd, that would be Black folks from the U.S., was listening. The leaders in the Black community met with other leaders from the continent of Africa to discuss the struggles of that was happening with both of these people. And the black people were behind these leaders while they were doing this. So it's not like the continent of Africa has never been a part of the black community, because it has. It's just that social media and, you know, the so-called young crowd who think they know more than the elders, and then can't give a viable solution of how delineating is going to move forward if you can't even support each other when you need to support each other. There's no support. Michael J. White and his positive experience should have been supported. Whether or not you agree with him or not, he's a black person from the United States, born and raised in the United States. You should support him. He wasn't saying anything that should not have lent some support from the black community, but it did not. It did not, because he mentioned Africa. And the continent of Africa should not be the reason why there's a division amongst the black community. Just because there's some people that, you know, say they have a lineage to the continent of Africa, say they have a connection to the continent of Africa, and then the other ones who all of a sudden are not. Still doesn't take away the fact that we're all black. We're all born and raised in the United States of America. And let me say this, just because you claim to not have a lineage to the continent of Africa doesn't mean that you can't visit there. Doesn't mean that you can't hear the word without you getting triggered. Doesn't mean that you can't say something positive about the continent. Just because you don't want to have a lineage doesn't mean you're going to just completely act like the entire continent doesn't exist. That's how you know that there's actually a problem with your identification, because if you cannot even acknowledge that the continent exists without you getting triggered, without you wanting to do negative things, then you're not as solidified in who you are as you think you are. Because if you were as solidified as you think you are, then I should be able to come on here every single day and talk about the positivities of the continent of Africa, and you shouldn't have anything to say to me other than, you know what, sister, great content. Glad that you have this great YouTube channel going on. I don't agree with it, but you know what? Kudos to you, and keep it moving. But you can't say that, can you? Because the continent of Africa got you triggered. People travel to Europe all the time. Don't mean they have a connection to the continent of Europe. They're just actually going there to see how somebody else is living, to explore another country. That's the same thing with going to the continent of Africa. You don't have to claim to have a lineage or connection there to go visit there. What are you scared of? That you might experience what Michael J. White experienced. A peace, a connection that you claim that you don't have. What is it about the continent of Africa that got some of y'all so up in a tizzy that Michael J. White can't even give a positive experience about Ghana? The country of Ghana. I applaud Michael J. White because, and other African American celebrities who are coming out and saying, you know what, yeah, I'm going to Ghana. Stevie Wonder, bye, going to Ghana. See ya, going to Ghana. If you ever get an opportunity for those African Americans, and even those who don't want to have a connection to the continent of Africa, but for you to go to see what it looks like, I would definitely say Ghana is the country to go to. Of course, I'm a little biased. And y'all know why. I've never been to another country before. Like I said before, I am definitely wanting to go to another country in Africa to experience it. But if you have the opportunity to go experience a country in Africa, you should. You should, just so that you can get firsthand experience of what it really is like, so that you can make a decision and choice on your own and stop living your life through social media. Alright, that is all I have to say on that. I am Michele Mazelleغ. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.